welcome to part 2 of my introduction to blank firing replica guns. In this video I'll be talking a bit about the safe handling of blank firing replicas, and then following up with a demonstration where I'll be firing a number of models from different manufacturers. I'll then show some super slow-mo footage of a blank firing gun in action. Now I just want to make the point that blank firing guns can be dangerous. When fired, the hot burning gases are expelled from the muzzle of the gun at a very high velocity, at such a high velocity that it creates a pressure wave, and this pressure wave can create damage. People have been killed by putting blank firing guns to their head and pulling the trigger. Now I just want to do a demonstration to give you a bit of an idea about the forces involved. One more point, blank firing guns can be loud, so loud in fact that they can damage your hearing. So before we start, I'm going to put on hearing protection. The sound pressure wave that comes out of the muzzle of the gun is so loud that it can damage my microphone, so I'm also going to take that off. Okay, now I'm loading the gun. Alright, well here's the can. As you can see, completely crushed by the pressure wave out of the muzzle. I'm really glad that wasn't my head. Well, hopefully we now have a newfound respect for the awesome power of our blank firing replica gun. So I just want to make a few more safety points. Firstly, don't shoot them at people. Now you saw what happened to the can. Obviously shooting somebody at close range could do them a great deal of harm. However, even at distance they can be dangerous. If there was anything lodged in the muzzle, or even if the restrictor, particularly in the case of the grub screw, was to come free somehow and fly out of the muzzle at high speed, it could gravely injure somebody. So don't point them at people and fire at them. Secondly, like most semi-automatic pistols, when they fire the slide moves backwards and forwards. You need to hold the gun properly in order not to get hurt. If you were to hold the gun with your left hand around the back of the slide like so, when the gun fired, the slide would move back and you could break your thumb. So keep your left hand underneath or down on the side, but well away from the action of the slide. I made the point in the last video that although these guns have a working trigger safety, that they don't have any sort of firing pin block. That means if there was a live round in the chamber and you were to slowly drop the hammer would be resting on the firing pin, which would be pressing against the primer. If you were to bump the hammer or to knock it against something, you could have an accidental discharge. On the subject of accidental discharges, it's very good practice to also keep your finger outside the trigger guard at all times until you're ready to fire. So to summarise, only load a round into the chamber when you're about to fire, don't point them at people, and only put your finger in the trigger guard when you're ready to fire. Once you've finished firing, unload any unused cartridges before putting the gun away. Well, now it's time for the part we've all been waiting for, the firing demonstrations. Firstly, I'm going to fire this gun made by Numerex. It's a copy of the Colt 1911. Now I'm going to fire this copy of the Walther PP, also made by Numerex. This is a replica of the Beretta PX4 Storm, made by Kema. This is a copy of the Beretta 92, made by Numerex in Germany. And lastly, I'm going to fire the Eckel AC in full auto. How about that Eckel AC? I don't know if you caught it, but in that short burst there were 5 rounds. That thing will fire over 15 rounds a second. Next I'm going to do some slow motion footage with this Kema 1911 blank firing replica. I was going to shoot that at 960 frames a second, but there's just not enough light in here to get a good picture. So instead I'm going to be shooting it at 400 frames a second, which will still give us a nice smooth slow-mo. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my introduction to blank firing replica guns. I'm going to be following up with a series where I review each of the guns individually in some more detail. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.